Thank you for having me. My name is Soraya Denis-Papillon. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I did spend a significant amount of time in Haiti up until the age of 6. And then I moved here with my parents. I did all my schooling up here, college up here, graduate school. Recently moved to South Florida. I am a mom, a wife. I have a 19-month-old daughter. I am the co-founder of a women's empowerment movement in Brooklyn, New York. Woohoo, Brooklyn. Um, it's called Women Who Inspire Women. And I am also the founder of Global Vive, which is a not-for-profit that is advocating for water sustainability in Haiti. I founded Global Vive in my mind in 2008. So 2 years before the earthquake that happened, the tragic earthquake that we had in January of 2010. But it didn't go into fruition. It didn't come into fruition until July of 2011. So this year, we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So it's been a long stretch. It's been a very, very rough learning experience running a not-for-profit that's based in Haiti. But I wouldn't change anything for the world. I've learned a lot about myself, a lot about my community, a lot about Haiti. And for the Women's Empowerment Group, we started it 5 years ago. And we hold an annual Women's History Month event where we honor trailblazers in the community and emerging leaders in our respective communities. We are kind of like your advocating educational hub, right? My goal was to educate people in our communities, the diaspora community, about water instability in Haiti and how it's affecting children, primarily school-aged girls, right? A lot of times girls are the one that are going to fetch for water. They're spending less time in school, so their hours are cut short. Because of reproductive systems, they have their menstrual cycle. They're ashamed to go to school oftentimes because there's no adequate water supplies in those schools. So across the globe, girls are affected more than anything, right? And as a woman and having a small daughter myself, I didn't have to experience those things because I was privileged enough, right, and blessed enough to live in the US. When you look at sub-Saharan African countries and you look at rural areas in Haiti or Dominican Republic, 9 out of 10 times you have to go and you have to fetch for water. So my goal with Local V was to educate people. Listen, these are the things that are going on in our educational systems. We need water infrastructures that are in schools, that are safe, that are clean, and also to advocate and show them more about, some of the things that we need to highlight in our communities as well. I think that the government wasn't doing enough at the time to change some of those things. And I felt like if we could come together as a community of organizations and not-for-profits, that we can make a dent in a small dent, even if it was a small dent, in solving that problem. Our mission for Women Who Inspire Women, it's literally in the name. It's women inspiring other women, right? A lot of times, like you guys mentioned with Fanm Potomitan, it's I knew that there was a lot of women in the community. I wanted to connect with them. And then there was no real way to connect with these women. If it wasn't on social media, you weren't really seeing them. I saw organizations in Detroit, in South Florida, in LA. I saw a lot of young women doing events. And I was like, we need that in our community. Do we have something like this in Brooklyn? We didn't at the time. So we came together, about 13 of my girlfriends, who are actually, some of them are actually part of Global Vive. So I kind of knew with people around me. I convinced them to join me on this mission. And we formed Women Who Inspire Women, the 13 of us. And we pulled all our resources and talent together. So we came together and we honored those in our community. And so we have assembly women that were honored. We have small business owners that were honored. We've honored people that have completed their PhD program, right? You have a friend of yours that perhaps got a doctorate and no one said, congratulations, or maybe it was just their immediate family. And we were like, this is huge. We need educators in our community that look like us in school systems. So we honor women that look like us, that our daughters can look up to, that our sons can look up to. So Women Who Inspire Women, the ultimate goal is to be a source of inspiration for the women that are coming up behind us, and to also highlight, and like you guys mentioned earlier, give flowers to those that are here with us now, before it's too late. Je Peux Vivre is a legal 501c3 non-for-profit. We got our non-for-profit status in July of 2013, 2 years after we had established as a corporation. So we are based in New York, where I was originally at, but we function solely in Haiti. The school is in La Plaine.
Okay.
It's a school to 250 students ranging from the ages of 5 to 18 years of age. We also have an after-school program as well. I was prematurely thrown into the nonprofit world right after the earthquake. So you can imagine, I look back and I'm really excited that, I can say 10 years ago I started and I'm still here after the earthquake. Like my mentor says this thing when she goes, we went for the earthquake, but we stayed for the people. I went to Haiti for the earthquake. I went there because I wanted to make a difference. And I ended up staying and sponsoring the school for 10 years because I love children. I love giving back to those that are not in the same position as me, because I don't want to say less fortunate, but people that are not able to do for themselves, to be a source of support to them, right? So for me, the biggest lessons was, and the takeaways are that, you could start small and you could still make a difference, right? We started with $500, right? And we thought, okay, we're going to send $500 to school and it'll help. It'll do something. It didn't do that much, but for that month, we were able to provide the school with food and pay for the 9 teachers at the time, right? Then we started having fundraisers and drives and school supply drives. So for the past 10 years, annually, we've been sending school supplies to the school. So that alleviates the cost of having to buy textbooks and school supplies for the parents. And we have donors on a reoccurring basis that would give us money to help pay for the salaries of the educators at the school. So as I said before, we went there like, we're going to drill a well and then we're going to walk away. And then the school, the families, the principal, the educators, we became family. And so what I would say is that we've grown in the sense of, we realize that it's not necessarily about the quantity of the type of work that you do in not-for-profit, it's about the quality. Like I wanted to drill 10,000 wells, but I'm helping students every year for the past 10 years. So that's 250 times 10, plus the educators that we're able to supply them with a salary so that we're helping their families. So the school is actually, in essence, en Potomitan. The school is in a sense, the central part of that neighborhood, and we're helping the school. So that means we help the families. So while it's not 10 wells later, like every year we didn't make our traction to drill a well, we're still helping so many people by still being there and being an active voice and an active listener. When you are an American charity, right, an NGO, and you go to Haiti and you're trying to function on the American system, this gets done. And then when you get to Haiti, you get a wake-up call, right? Because the government doesn't operate on a timely manner. You can't get answers directly. You have to go and dig and find resources sometimes outside of the government because you can't get any answers. So the challenges have been working with the municipalities, getting answers. We wanted to do soil testing. We wanted to do soil testing in the school, the grounds around the school. And we thought, oh, the government should have that, right? And then we go to the office and it doesn't exist. And so we had to hire engineers to come and do soil testing, which costs thousands of dollars sometimes because they have to drill and they have to do this, they have to do a test. So what I learned is you have to be really resourceful. You have to have the right connections. And that proved to be a challenge because I wasn't raised in Haiti. So I didn't know the logistics of getting around. Like you have to, like in Haitians say, like, like you have to know people to get things done in Haiti. And we were operating from a system of, oh, in America, we do this, you get the answers. And it's not the same thing in Haiti. So the challenges have been like navigating through those logistics in Haiti and building relationships with other not-for-profits that are on the ground because they know they've been there before. So the challenges have been, for the most part, navigating through that system. But we've made a lot of progress because now we know who to go to. What keeps me going is that I know that somebody is counting on me, right? Whether I see them every day or not, I'm on their mind in Haiti. They're praying for me. They pray for me, right? So they pray for the organization. They pray for our growth. They pray for people that do reoccurring donations to us. They pray for everything. So for me, it's knowing that I have people that are counting on me. And then I always put myself in a position of thinking, what if I was one of those kids in that school in 1985, right? And I had someone from the United States that I knew that was in arm's reach that can help me. So I think about those things, and that keeps me inspired because I think we always have to be servants in this life. And my goal is to always be a servant to those that are around me. Well, first and foremost, Global Vive, we wouldn't be Global Vive, and it wouldn't make sense if we were Global Vive if we were tied to water infrastructure, right? So the first tangible thing, and that happened just 5 years ago, was we built our well at the school. We drilled our well. We got with the engineers. So not only are we producing enough water for the school on a daily basis, but we're also producing enough water to supply the community around the school. So that's number one. Number two is tangibly, right? When you think about like what is tangible, what are the things that are seen and know you're the forefront, being able to give school supplies, right? And clothing, sending those things that the parents wouldn't necessarily be able to get, or it would be a struggle for them to get. So we give them 1 or 2 less things to worry about. So they don't have to worry about school supplies. And on a annual basis, we're sending enough money for them to, if they need to, like a scholarship fund, they can pull from that money to help the parents buy uniforms for their kids. So we're almost, I would say, supporting them on an educational front, but we're alleviating some of that debt and that cost that it takes to put your kids through school. And last but not least, we're also serving the community. We went there to just service the school. But now we know that parents that are in the area, or even children that are in the area, they don't have to walk miles and miles and miles to fetch for water. They can walk up to the school, which is a block away radius, right? Like 1 mile radius from them, depending on how far they are, and they can come and fetch for water on an ongoing daily basis. So that's a huge thing for us, because before they would have to walk miles to get to a water well. Long-term goals with Global Vive. You know what? We're gearing up for our 10-year anniversary. So I think that just because of the type of individual that I am, I've made 5-year plan goals with Global Vive, but I never thought we would reach 10 years. So reevaluating where we are at as an organization, finding a new, I would say, a new oomph, right? A new drive, right? How do we replicate what we've done in this one school and do it in 2, 3, 4, 5 additional schools, right? Even if it's not a water well, because I think adding that aspect, right? Making sure that we're geared on water stability is important. We still want to educate people and different schools about the effects of water instability, right? So perhaps what we've thought about before in 10 years is not only having water advocacy be at the forefront, but having a curriculum based on like personal hygiene and sanitation education. That's something that should be across the nation. There's a lot of organizations that do that curriculum, but it's not implemented in Haitian schools. So a curriculum based on personal hygiene and sanitation education would be important. We're living through a pandemic right now, right? We're in the middle of COVID-19. Before that, Haiti faced its own version of this pandemic with cholera, right? Which is, it's a disease, it's a germ that is found in water. And it's a form of bacteria that can be found in the water. And the most people that are affected by this are children. You have over 3,000 children dying on a daily basis from waterborne illnesses and diseases. So educating people about that, showing people that not all clear water is good water, because people in the islands they wash in the river, they drink water from the river, and that's all that they know. Giving them kind of like basic tools about like solar disinfection, maybe perhaps like having glass water bottles available to the poor, right? And so that they can put those out on sutol is what we call it in Haiti, right? Putting it on their roof so that it can get some sunlight, right? Because we know that with solar disinfection, 99% of bacteria is killed, right? So we're able to educate everybody, or no matter if you're rich or poor in the school system about this, we will have a greater survival rate for children, because they'll know that just because the water looks clean doesn't mean that it's clean. So I think that would be one of my primary focuses, is to focus on an educational curriculum that we can use in schools, so that the kids understand that this is how you could tell what clean water looks like. And if you can't tell, this is what you should do to treat it. So that is one of our goals. I would like for Local to be a household name in Haiti, not only for us to be known for water advocacy, but for us to be known for an educational curriculum too that's nationally recognized. Research, because I thought I knew something, and then I found out that I didn't know enough, and I'm still learning. One of the things that I would recommend is learning what the UN and World Health Organization is saying. What kind of conversations are they having around water instability? One of the 10 UN goals was to help infrastructure in sub-Saharan Africa gain stability with water. So that meant like the infrastructure, the pipelines, ensuring that the government had adequate supplies to get this done. And so if you're interested in learning about this process and what it takes, then definitely read about it. Read, research. Because there's a lot of information on how we can too, even in the US, help, right? Some of the things that we did with our organization is we had people sign up for a challenge. Like, how do you lessen or decrease your water usage in your own home? Because everything we do here is all connected. We're all living on planet Earth, right? So for me, if I'm brushing my teeth or something, I turn off my faucet. I don't let it run. I have the privilege of doing that, but I don't do it because it's taking up a lot of water and I don't need that much water, right? So there are certain things that we can do. You can teach your little ones too, the same thing. And so those are some of the things that, I would encourage the next person to look into and read about. Israel has a really good program. They've been able to use ocean water, right? Water from the sea. And they have a plant that cleans that water, and that water is then generated into the pipelines and the systems. And so they're using this water system in Israel right now. And it's kind of like futuristic, but it's something that I would hope would happen in Haiti or happen in the US one day, right? Or perhaps rainwater harvesting, what that looks like for us in the US. You have people in rural, Midwestern states that harvest rainwater. We do it in Haiti too. You'll see the big what do you call those barrels on top of those houses, and that's rainwater harvesting. And eventually, we have to understand that water is going to become a global issue. It's not just a third world country issue. It's a global issue. It's going to be a global pandemic. We're going to have to find ways to create potable water for everyone to drink, and it's a problem that we're going to have to resolve as a nation, as a whole earth. The whole earth is going to have to do it. So definitely researching, learning about the new trends is important. How has the project changed me? It's made me less selfish, right? I don't think a lot of times we think about ourselves when we're doing work, charity work. We're like, oh, I'm doing something great. So look at me. I'm the person that's doing this. Like sometimes I think that people get caught up in the founder title, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I'm the founder, I created this. And then I've learned that sometimes, and quite frankly, a lot of times, for you to be a good founder, for you to be a good leader, you have to take a step back. You have to allow the organization to go where it's headed. So I came in and thought, I'm going to do well after well. I wanted to imitate Charity Water. I had my own vision for the organization, but a real organization that is godly. And I mean that it was something that was ordained, right? Like I thought about this, I dreamt about it, I prayed about it. God is going to allow it to take its own direction. And right now, God is like focused on the kids, focused on the people. So for me, it was putting myself back and allowing the organization to do what it was intended to do, which is help people. So whether we're drilling 1 well, 2 wells, 3 wells or not, we're still helping a community. And had we not been in that community wouldn't have been getting any help. So sometimes you have to take a step back as a founder and let your staff lead, let your staff come up with ideas, suggestions, and allow the organization to run itself. And I don't mean like run itself like you don't be behind it, but allow it to grow naturally. We are going into our 10-year anniversary. So that's a very, very, like, I'm very excited about the plans for us, you know,
Yes.
as 10 years from now looks like, right? So that's what I'm interested in, like, thinking about right now or focused on. So that would be pretty much it. So you can definitely email us, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook. We are on Instagram, not as active on Instagram, but on Facebook, you can reach out to us. You can send us an email at info@lopouviv.org. If you're interested about learning more about the charity, the work that we do, sponsoring the school, or being part of our team. As I said before, we started with 13 members. We're still 13 members strong, but we're always looking to bring in new talent because it's important to have fresh eyes, fresh ideas. One of my favorite quotes is that we are on this earth, right, to serve. And our purpose is not just one thing. Our purpose gets redefined as we continue to age. So I just want to leave you guys with that note that, you guys are off to an amazing start with Fanm Potomitan. And your objective and your goal should always be to reinvent yourselves because you guys are going to grow continually. And it might not just be Haitian American women. It might be Creole women, right? From the different French and T's islands. So as you guys grow, remember that, your ultimate business, right? First, if you are a Christian, is to serve. So be servants in everything that you do, and the doors will always open up for you. I'm a firm believer that when you do good on this earth, good will come back to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies, thank you.